Hey friends, it's Brad Brain. I hope you're doing well. So listen, I've been getting just this rash of phone calls and inquiries from people who want to do things that is just wildly inconsistent with their financial objectives. And that's not actually abnormal. When we have a run of good luck, as we have had, then that's when people they start to think that their risk tolerance is a bit bigger than what it actually is in reality. Listen, everybody thinks they can afford to lose money until they actually do. Everybody thinks they have the capacity, the emotional wherewithal to suffer investment losses until they actually do. And then there's another component that adds to this as well, and that's we're in a low interest environment. So people are looking at the guaranteed investments and the meager returns that are out there for guaranteed investments. So they're wondering what else they might be able to do. And then a third element that's just creating this environment where people are doing things that I think are just wildly inappropriate is this bombardment in the media about things like inflation and other scary stories. And people think that they feel compelled to do something, right? I got to do something. We got inflation out there. I got to do something about it, right? So anyway, here's what's happening. People want to do new and often unproven strategies. And a lot of these things, they have some dramatic headlines that attest to their success, but I liken it to playing the lottery. Now you could play the lottery, you could win, you could win, but you need to understand the math of lotteries. In fact, I shot a video on lottery winning, like the lottery ticket mentality to investing. I'll include it in the footnotes here. So I got lottery tickets here. This is a prop for when I shot this video. You can play the lottery and you can win. But here's the thing on MathWorks. If you have a 1 in a million chance of winning and you buy one lottery ticket a day, it's going to take you 2,739 years to win. If you got a 1 in a million chance, you buy one lottery ticket a day, it's going to take you 2,700 years to win. That's what 1 in a million means, right? So just because there's some people who've got some success stories of wild good fortune, that does not mean you're going to be able to duplicate that. Okay, so here's how I have, through the length of my career, positioned people for what to expect from their investments. Not cross your fingers and hope expect, but legitimately expect based on history. And when you think of it, history is one of the only guides that we really have that we can look to and hopefully get some clarity. So here's how I describe what to expect from your investments. Okay, on my screen right now, we have something called an index chart. These are very common, and I like them. I really like them because there's a lot of detailed history here, and we can illustrate what's happened in the past, like the last time there was a really bad bear market. How did it play out? Things like that, right? So I've used these things since inception. I've got so many kicking around my office. I'm going to use this one for convenience day, purely for convenience, because as you can see at the top, this is from 2016. But the reason that I'm using this one is because I had an electronic version of it. If you can go grab a current version, but I'll show you why I'm not going to sweat that too much. So I'm just going to, eventually I'm going to talk about this purple line right here. And this is where it finishes up, right? Now I'm just going to make that a little bit bigger so you can see. So with that purple line, that's the Toronto stock market. Okay, so I'll get into that in a minute. But what I want to show you right now is in 2016, the TSX had a return of 9.8%. Now that's starting back in 1950. And I'm just going to flip down to this one. This is another one I had saved. This is from 2011, right? So 5 years difference. You'd think that, 5 years, especially the time frame that we're talking about, because this is a pretty tumultuous time, but the difference here, same purple line, here it is at 10.3%. So basically what I'm saying here is we can tack on a few more years to bring this up to modern day. Really, the numbers are going to be a little bit of a change, but not materially different, right? It'll be an incremental change from current stuff. Here we're looking at a 5-year gap and some of the most tumultuous years we can find, and it still only budges the long-term numbers by less than 0.5%. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to stick with the 2016 numbers because that's the ones I can show you clearly. Now, on an Yandex chart, there is a lot of history on these things. This goes back to 1950, and it shows 1950 is right underneath my face there. It shows what happens if we put $100 in different types of things we can do with our money, and it brings us up to modern day. Okay, so here it brings us up to 2016. Now, I'm not going to show you all of the little nuances of all the things because that doesn't really add to the presentation. I'm just going to focus on two things. This peach colored line here and this purple line here. Okay, so the peach line, what this is guaranteed investment certificates. So if you put your money in a GIC, you can have confidence that your money does not fluctuate. You're going to have all your money plus interest when it matures. Now, there is one component about that, and GICs aren't paying that much these days, so you're not going to make a lot of money, but you will make some. So when we graph that, here's the peach line here. It's always going up, right? Never going backwards. Now, the slope of the line is changing as interest rates have come down, but we're always going up. Okay, it's very, very reliable. Now, believe it or not, even in these times of low interest rates, that serves a purpose. If you have a short time frame, that reliability can be the key determining factor for how you are going to want to invest. And I'll show you why. Going back to our purple line here. So this is 2008. That little bump right there would be 2008. Okay. Now 2008 was a catastrophic time to be a stock market investor and virtually any other kind of investor. 2008, that was the global recession. That was the big one. That was the one that we compare to the Great Depression way back in the 1930s. That's how nasty 2008 was. We've only got really the Great Depression to compare it to. So there was really no safe harbor in 2008. It doesn't matter what you invested in. It went through a rough patch, right? Now, here's the thing. Let's say we're investing in 2007, right here. Maybe I just change the color here so you can see it a bit better. I'll go to green. I don't see much green on the chart here. So right here, green, okay? 2007. Let's say you invested in 2007 and you needed your money a year later. Well, here you are down here, right? There was no good outcome from that. You put your money in high, you needed it, you had to sell low to get it. That's a bad situation to try and navigate. So if you have a short time frame, that predictability of the GICs can be far more important than making a bit more on your return. It's not so much getting a return on your principal, it's making sure you're getting a return of your principal, right? When it's time for you to get your money, you want to make sure it's there. So if you have a short time frame, GICs are totally appropriate to consider. But what if we have a longer time frame? Well, that opens up the opportunities, and we can consider some things that we wouldn't otherwise consider. And what I mean by long term, now there's some room for discussion on this, but let's say that if you have at least a 5-year or longer time frame, right? So let's say long term starts at 5 years, and arguably that's even not that long a time frame, right? So if 5 years plus is I'm more comfortable with saying. So if you have a 5-year and longer time frame, well, that's more interesting because what that means here, just maybe for convenience, I'll go to another color. Well, it's purple. I like purple. If you got a 5-year time frame, now you can have something really, really bad happen, and you got time to recover from it, right? The problem with this type of investing is if you don't have the time to recover from it, you could buy high and sell low. Longer time frame, now you can ride out the inevitable rough patches and go on to bigger and better things. Okay, now I'm just going to blow this up a little bit, and I'll show you why we would consider going after bigger returns. And the answer is you get paid. Okay, so now because I'm focused on just a section of this index chart, we can't see the start of this, which is how we got to where we are now. And how we got to where we are now is investing $100 back in 1950. So if you invested $100 in GICs back in 1950, you would have made 6.4%, and you'd have $6,000 in 2016. But as I say, the numbers don't change too much if we bring it up to the minute. So a person might say, well, that's not bad. But also, this is clearly not current, right? We're not making 6.4% on our GICs anymore. That long-term number was boosted by the high interest rate times of the 70s and 80s, and even 90s for that matter now in comparison to where we are now. So we can't get anywhere close to 6.4%, but that's the historical number. Okay, now here's the thing. That same $100 invested in the Toronto stock market, you would have made 9.8%. Now, on the surface, this is not a big difference in rate of return, right? 9.8 to 6.4. This is just a 3.4% difference in rate of return. But here's the thing. Even though that might seem like an incremental difference, 3.4%, if you're compounding your money at an extra 3.4% per year over 50 years, that's enough. You're getting paid big time. The difference, remember, we're starting at the same spot. This is $100 invested in 1950 in GICs, $100 invested in 1950 in the Toronto stock market. That same $100 here, it goes to $6,000. Well, here, what is that? 8 times as much money? You got 800% more money from that 3% difference in rate of return compounded over that long time frame. So if you have a long time frame, you want to seek growth. If you have a short time frame, it's not growth that's the dominant factor. Usually it's predictability. Now there's room for discussion about what happens for things in the middle, but let's just leave our options for the two things at the moment. Short term, usually you want to play it safe. Long term, often you want to go for growth. We don't need crazy newfangled stuff that has, in my mind, low chance of doing anything other than blowing up in the next little bit, right? There's a speculation. It's not the same thing as investing. Investing means you have a high degree of confidence that you're going to get the result you want. Speculation is casino type mentality. It's rolling the dice. Maybe you luck out, but don't confuse luck with acumen. I hope all this stuff makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know, because I'm here to help. I'm Brad Brain. Stay healthy. Be well. Take care.